Faculty of Economic Business Trisakti. Yeah, this teaching collaboration will take 4 times. Yeah, 2 times Dr. Azrin will teach you, yeah, as visiting lecturer, and 2 times myself will teach the student in UiTM. Okay, that's about Dr. Azrin and this event. Yeah, hopefully this event can provide benefit for both party. So to make shorten time, I invite Dr. Azrin to start the lecture. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Silakan Bu Azrin.
Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi. Terima kasih ya. Di sini basically saya akan mengajar ya akan berkongsi lah mengenai topik proses costing. Boleh diteruskan ya? Terus ya untuk proses costing. So mahasiswa bagaimana dengan proses costing? Sudah belajar sebelum ini? Sudah di minggu pertama atau sudah ada kelas mengenai proses costing sebelum ini? Sudah?
Sudah yang average.
Sudah, Bu.
Nah, sekarang yang Vivo-nya.
Oh, okey. Okey, sedikitlah mungkin mengenai saya ya. Sedikit tadi. Saya share screen. Sekejap share screen. Ya, sekejap. Share screen. Okey, nama saya Raja Ezrin ya. This one my phone number. Okey, dahulu my first degree and Leeds Metropolitan University in the UK long time ago mahasiswa belum lahir lagi. Saya sudah graduate ya. Kemudian work with Arthur Andersen and then I did my Chartered Institute of Management Accountant, graduated in the year 2000. And then I work with UiTM, and then I did my master at UiTM, Malaysia, and then I did my PhD at Curtin University, in Australia. So this is at Curtin University. And then this is with my supervisors during the convocation over there. You have like the summer and the winter graduation. So I opt for the summer convocation. So during that convocation, it's being held outdoor. So you can have that, the convocation is being held outdoor. So, this one is during the convocation over there. And then now I'm working with UiTM. Working with UiTM. This one during the convocation, they have this firework and so on. So now I'm witnessing my students' graduation at UiTM. My spare time, I like to do gardening. So, and then my children, I have like this one, 6 of them. Now they are all grown up, all at the university already. Okay, so that's all. So run and catch your dream. All right, okay, that's basically about me. Okay, now I'm going to explain to you about the process costing. Okay, so process costing, we move on to process costing. So we look into process costing. So maybe you can scan this one. Can you scan this one for the notes that I'm going to explain? So all the notes are from, you can just scan this QR code so that you can access the notes. Okay, done? Hopefully we can have a two-way communication for this class. Hopefully I can hear you. Not sure whether I can hear you or not, or you can talk and I can hear you. What about this one? Have you finished scanning the QR code? Are you able to get hold of the notes? Yes?
Yes, we have, ma'am.
All right, okay, thank you. Okay, now let's say this one. This one is just to refresh your memory. I believe that you have known about, you already know about process costing. So if you look here, what is this? Maybe kitchen cabinet, yeah? So these are, I'm looking about the product. So what about this one? So another kitchen cabinet. What about this one? Another kitchen cabinet. Are all these the same kitchen cabinet or different?
Different.
Different, very good. So what about this one? If let's say your car broke down, then you have to do the repair. You send to a mechanic for the car, untuk mobil untuk diperbaiki. So that will be, so this one. Are you looking at the car or are you looking at the handsome guy?
The handsome guy.
All right, okay, what about this one? So another truck, it broke down, and then you have to do the repair. So who's that guy? You can see the mechanic. Okay, what is it I want to bring you to? Okay, so if you have that, that means the car here, the car, this one, the yang rosak is different. Let's say I say this one is a car A. Car A, the get broken down, and then it's different from this truck B. The same goes if you look at the kitchen cabinet. If I say this one is A, and this one is, let's say, B, and this one is, let's say, C. So all these are different. So if that different, so what's the main purpose of you doing a business? So the main purpose of you doing a business, of course, what do you want?
Profit.
Yep, sure, very good. Of course, when you want to when you do business, you want to make profit. So my second question, how do you calculate profit? How do you calculate profit? Revenue or your sales revenue minus your cost. Then, of course, we assume it is a positive, then you will get a profit. So revenue minus cost, you get your profit. My third question, how do you calculate your cost? How do you calculate your cost? So now you want to calculate your cost, then that brings you to costing. Way on how you calculate your cost. So you want to determine the cost. If let's say, I just take small figure, you want to sell it for 10 and your cost, if you sell it at 10, then I say, are you making profit or loss? Okay, untung atau laba. You cannot tell because you do not know how much is your cost. So therefore, you need to determine your cost. So that if let's say we take your cost is 8, then you know that you are making a profit of 2. And then if we say that our cost is, let's say, 15, then you know that you are making a loss of 5. So therefore, determining the cost is very, very, very important. So you want to determine the cost. Now, when you want to determine the cost, you need to identify the nature of your product. So the nature of your product, if let's say you are providing a product or service, if let's say your product is like this kitchen cabinet that I've shown you just now, A is different from B and is different from C. So then we will apply what we call as job costing. So this one, job costing. Okay, then this also brings you to, let's say the kerosakan for kereta A is, or mobil A is different from B. So that is what you're providing a service. Again, you are using job costing. What if you have this? For example, biasa nampak ini. Sama, pernah guna? Pernah nampak?
Nah, pakai nggak sampo pentin?
Okay.
Yes, I have.
Yeah. If let's say you buy this from shop A and you buy it from shop B, will that be different in terms of packaging, for example, in terms of the ingredients, for example? What about this one? Have you seen this one? Have you consumed this one?
Oh,
Not yet.
No. Very good. Okay, what about this one?
yeah.
Yes, we have.
All right. Okay. So if let's say you purchase Cornetto vanilla from shop A, will that taste differently when you purchase Cornetto vanilla from shop B? Or they taste the same?
Different taste.
Different taste. Are you sure? Vanilla from shop A, vanilla bought from Jakarta and Surabaya. Will that taste different?
Oh,
Cornetto ice cream, vanilla. Same taste?
Different taste because the one is vanilla and the other one is chocolate.
Okay, I'm not talking about if let's say you are just buying vanilla only from shop A and shop B. Same or different?
Same.
Same. All right. So if your product, if like this, they are identical. It's called identical or homogeneous. Okay, homogeneous. Then you want to determine the cost. How much is the cost for your ice cream vanilla? How much is the cost for your chocolate ice cream? So the answer would be you need to find the cost. So if your product is identical, then you will use process costing. So you just now you have job costing, process costing, contract costing, batch costing, service costing, all these things you want to determine the cost. However, for today's, we're going to proceed with what is called as process costing. So hopefully you are clear on when to use the process costing. It's when your product undergo identical, sequential of identical items. I know this one is like a revision because you already know what process costing is all about. But I just want you to make sure that you really understand what is the difference between specific order costing and continuous operation costing. So if your product, like I said just now, specifically based on the customer's requirement, like the car, like the kitchen cabinet, then you could use job costing. However, if your product undergo a continuous operation, then in that case, it is more suitable for you to use process costing. Okay, so what is process costing? The method applicable when goods or your services result from a sequence or continuous or repetitive operations or processes. So how are you going to determine the cost? You need to find the average cost. Cost being average over the unit produced during the period. Okay, so and then as I shown to you just now, it undergo a series of processes. And then how you calculate the cost, you need to determine the cost per unit. So as I said just now, what's the purpose of you doing a business? Because you want to get profit. How you calculate profit? Revenue minus cost. So how do you calculate the cost if your product undergo this series of sequential processes? Then that will be, you need to calculate the cost per unit. How you calculate the cost per unit? This is the formula. If you have normal loss, then you have to minus the normal loss. Okay, I hope you already understand the meaning of that losses, the types of losses. So as I said, if let's say you produce table, that table first you cut the 3 into pieces. So let's say the first process is called cutting, and then let's say it moves on to the second process. You want to assemble all your log into pieces. So this one is assembly process, this one is cutting process, and finally it's called the finishing process. All your products will undergo the same process. So in that case, how to determine the cost? The answer would be apply the process costing. Hopefully that you are clear up to that. And then all this one about the difference between process and job, I believe you have gone through with your lecturer or docent previously. And then what are the possible causes of the losses? And then the types of losses. What are types of losses that you have in process costing? Just tell me the name of the losses. One is called the normal loss. The other one is called the, just to gain insight on your basic knowledge about these losses. Anyone? Or you can speak up where you don't have the microphone. Or normal loss, then? Come again. Normal loss. All right. And then?
Is it unexpected loss?
Unexpected loss. Okay. That is called as abnormal loss. Correct. You have the abnormal loss for the unexpected loss as well as the abnormal gain. So I believe that you already understand all this about the losses, but you really have to be clear on your types of losses. Types of losses, just a short, a brief explanation, again, just to recap your knowledge about your losses. So maybe I can just give you a simple example so that you really understand what is meant by these types of losses. So I'm just giving you an example, a scenario, a very simple one. You want to produce this bottle of, cannot see it. Okay, this bottle. this bottle of water, okay, one bottle of water. So let's say this bottle of water. So one bottle, let's say simple example, one bottle is 1 liter. And then let's say you put in the input. So you put in 1,000 liters. So you would expect 1,000 bottles. So hopefully that is clear. You put in 1,000 liters as your input, then you will get your output as 1,000 bottles. Each bottle consists of 1 liter of water. All right, so that is my scenario. So I say now, instead of having, okay, this one is scenario 1, instead of having 1,000, now you find out that, my actual output, not 1,000, but I only have 950 bottles. So where does the difference go? So I have what is called as losses. So that losses, so I put in 1,000, I would expect 1,000. However, because of the normal spillage of water during that production, you expect that, 50 liters would go, would fall, spill, and so on. So I expect this 50 liters of losses, and my expected output would be 950. So this expected loss is called as normal loss. So that is normal loss. You expect, as you said just now, you expect that to occur in the production process. So if you expect that, that means you expect 50 to be your losses. So my expected output should be 950. So hopefully that is clear. That is your normal loss. So that is my scenario 1. My scenario 1. Now I move on. My scenario 2. Okay, my scenario 2, I put in 1,000 and I expect just now 50 to be my normal loss. Okay, so my output would be 950. But my actual output is 920. So I say, hey, hold on, I should get 950, but why my actual output is only 920? What's the difference? My actual output that should, my expected output, I should get the 950. My total loss or my actual loss is 80, right? Because it put in 1,000, only get 920. Difference 80. So 80 is the total loss or actual loss, right? However, out of that losses, so out of that 80 losses, we have 50 is called as the expected loss. So expected is your normal loss. Then you have extra more than 50. So I have extra of 30. So that 30 is, I don't expect that. So that is unexpected losses. So that unexpected losses is called abnormal loss. So first you need to know what is meant by normal loss. That means your expected losses. On top of that, if you have more than what you expected, that you don't expect that to occur, but it does occur, so that is called the unexpected loss. So in this case, it's called abnormal loss and normal loss. In your account, don't put word unexpected, unavoidable, and so on. Just have normal loss and abnormal loss in your account, right? This one is just for you, the term that you need to understand. So hopefully that is clear. So in short, when your actual production, you can look at it from the production point of view or from the losses point of view. Depends on the question. How does the question give you the information? If give you the information from the loss perspective. So my actual loss is 80, but my normal loss is 50. It is more than the difference of 30 is your abnormal loss. Or you can look at it from your output perspective. I expect my output to be 950, but my actual output is only 920. So the difference of 30 is your abnormal loss. Is that clear? So by now, you should be able to understand what is normal loss, what is abnormal loss. Is that clear? Yes, all right, thank you. And then we move on to next one, what? The scenario 3. If you can understand normal loss, abnormal loss, I'm sure you can understand the other one that is called abnormal gain. So if you put in your input as 1,000, you expect just now 50, so your expected output should be 950. However, okay, you found out that, hey, my actual output is 990. So I've got 990. So your actual loss is only 10. So out of that 10, your losses is only 10, of which you expect that 50 to be your normal loss and your 40 is actually your abnormal gain. So by now, you should understand these three terms: normal loss, abnormal gain. Again, depends on the question. If the question gives you information about losses, actual loss is 10, but your normal loss is 50, then you know the difference of 40 is your abnormal gain. Or the question can give you the information from the output perspective, whereby your actual output is 990 and your expected output is 950. So you have 40 as your abnormal gain. All right? So hopefully clear on that. So therefore, you need to understand the difference between normal loss and abnormal loss. Okay. Next one. I'm not sure whether you understand this or not. Okay. Why do we need to deduct normal loss when calculating the cost per unit? I'm not sure whether you have covered this one or not. So you remember just now I say when you want to calculate the CPU or cost per unit, what is the formula to calculate the CPU or cost per unit? This one, total cost, then you have to minus, right, the normal loss, isn't it? This one, okay. When you want to calculate the cost per unit, so you take the total cost minus your normal loss. And then you have to divide by your input, divided by your normal loss quantity. Are you familiar with this formula or you are not familiar with this formula? Yes or no?
I'm not familiar actually.
Come again?
Normal loss itu belum masuk.
Oh,
Jadi
belum masuk.
Not familiar.
kita hanya
yang
semuanya
ini.
oke. Jadi ini
Oh.
baru bagi mereka.
Oh, okay. Alright.
Normal loss belum masuk materinya.
Okay. So far, can you follow my teaching or the mahasiswa, can you follow or you don't understand when I talk about normal loss, abnormal gain tadi?
Mungkin jangan terlalu cepat kali.
Oh, okay,
Soalnya
baik.
kan berbahasa Inggris.
Oh, okay. Okay, setakat ini
Slow
can
down.
you follow about the term only, just the term, the normal loss, loss that we expect in the production. Di dalam produksi itu kita memang expect, memang akan ada, macam contoh kalau saya bagi air tadi, the air when you put into the bottle memang akan ada tumpah, spillage. So bila spill, then bila kita put in 1,000 just now, okay, when you put in 1,000, you don't get 1,000. So this one, when you put in 1,000, you don't expect, you won't get the 1,000. Kenapa? Sebab ada yang tumpah. Okay, ada yang tumpah. Contoh dia. Jadi bila dia ada tumpah, the spill, then you put in 1,000, you don't get 1,000. You only get 950. So the difference tadi, if you expect that to happen, that is called as the normal loss. Loss yang memang kita akan berlaku di dalam production, yang you can't avoid it. Memang akan ada yang you expect that to happen. Kalau you kata evaporation dalam minyak, memang akan ada evaporate. You put in, you won't get exact amount. So that is called the normal loss. You expect that loss to happen. But if that losses happen to be more than what you expect, sorry, you expect to be 50, but that losses more than what it should be. You expect it to be 50, but it actually 80. Okay, 80. Jadi when it is more, then the difference is more than what you expect. I expect should be normal, but if it is the losses is more, then that is called as abnormal. So if it is a loss, it is abnormal loss. So this term, you need to understand what is meant by losses. So losses, and then losses can be your normal loss, okay, or it can be your abnormal loss. Okay, if suddenly you expect that the other way around, so that will be your gain. So that will be your abnormal gain. Your abnormal gain, if let's say you put in 1,000, you expect to be 50, and then should be your expected output 950. However, your actual output is more, is 990. So your actual loss is only 10. It's only 10. Okay, when your actual loss is only 10, that means the 40 is your abnormal gain. So the first one, before you can do the accounts, okay, before I show you the journal entry and so on, you first need to understand these terms. Once you understand these terms, then only you can do the account and journal entry. Okay. So I say this one, the difference between normal loss, you really expect that to occur. In the production process, you expect that losses to occur. However, for the abnormal loss, you don't expect that to occur, but it still occur. Okay, because of the carelessness of the worker. Worker tu baru, you just employ this new worker. She do not know how to do the work, and then more losses happen. So that is unexpected. For example, another example, suddenly in the production process, the machine break down. So when the machine break down, you don't expect that the machine to rosak. So you don't expect. So you incur losses. So that is called unexpected losses. Okay, the same. So can you control that? So if it is in terms of controllability, you are unable to control for this one. If this one controllable, so can you avoid it? If this one, it will be unavoidable. This one you can avoid. If you train your employee, for example, so the employee will work carefully, so you can avoid that losses. Yeah. This one, for example, normal leakage, spoilage, loss of weight, drying. But this one could be there is a fire that causes it, flood, theft, your plant breakdown, the material that you use is substandard. By right, you should use a good material input. Tiba-tiba you let's say you are doing apa tomato sauce, and then that tomato is the busuk and so on, means you are using the substandard material because you want to have a lower cost, then you take a substandard material, so that can cause you to incur losses as well. Accident, inefficient in terms of your operation, carelessness, dia careless, dia tidak cermat semasa melaksanakan tugas, can also give you all these abnormal losses. Setakat tu boleh faham? Boleh Kalau diam tu saya assume faham lah So when you want to do the account, okay,
Bu, kalau nggak ngerti boleh tanya langsung kan?
yeah, sure. Kalau nggak ngerti atau kalau terlalu laju tidak boleh diikuti, sila maklumkan.
Oke, silakan bertanya. Ada yang mau
Yeah.
bertanya sampai di sini? Nah, ada yang mau bertanya, Ibu?
Ya, sila.
Silakan berdiri. Pakai mic-nya.
Maaf, tidak didengari soalannya.
Ya, terdengar Bu suaranya? Coba.
Tidak.
Tes.
Okay.
My name is Rajmita Shoktaviana.
Okay, Rajmita.
When a company have very large abnormal loss, what should they do to maintain the stability as their production figures?
All right. So if you have the large number of abnormal loss, then there comes in the management action, whereby you need to investigate why these particular things happen. Like you have losses, okay, certain level of losses you expect, like this one, for example. So in the normal operation, what do I mean by normal operation? kebiasaannya begitu. Setiap bulan begitu, bulan depan begitu, bulan lagi begitu, tahun sebelumnya begitu. Jadi itu dipanggil sebagai normal operation. So in that normal operation, what do you expect? So you don't expect a perfect operation. Perfect means put in 1,000, you get 1,000. We don't expect perfect operation because of human error and so on. So you have some level of losses that you would expect in that operation that is called as the normal losses. Kebiasaannya kalau saya put in 1,000, saya cuma dapat 950. So that's 50 adalah the normal loss that you expect. Your question is suddenly you have more, like you have 300 losses. Okay, you have 300 losses. You put in 1,000, you have 300 losses. And then you say, why? Then you expect only 50. So you have extra of 250. This extra of 250 is your abnormal loss. Abnormal means something that is not normal. So when it is not normal, tidak biasa begitu. Jadi, you have to investigate. From the management point of view, kenapa berlakunya this so much of these losses? Because you don't want the company to bear all these losses. So that's why you need to investigate, find ways, what happens in the production process that causes you to incur these particular losses. Hopefully that answer your question.
Thank you.
All right, okay. So this one brings in the management side of it. So you know, in the management accounting, what is management accounting? So you ada dalam management accounting about you provide information for decision making. In short, provide information for decision making. Okay, in dalam management accounting kita ada juga cost accounting. Cost accounting, what is meant by cost accounting? Provision of information with regard to cost. This ni macam keluar sikit daripada topik process costing, but I want you to understand when you do management accounting, what is it about? So basically, this concept is very, very, very important for you to understand. Mana tadi? Google. Okay, so if you look, just let me show you what is meant by cost accounting. Just sharing of knowledge. Sebelum ini dulu saya pernah mengajar di Curtin University, Australia, for about 2 to 3 years. Sama. What I want to highlight is that regardless where you study, because macam contoh saya belajar saya punya first degree di ataupun S1 di UK, di United Kingdom. Saya buat saya punya S3 PhD di Australia. Saya punya S2 di Malaysia. Di mana-mana you belajar, dia tetap sama. So what is cost accounting? So kalau you look here, cost accounting is a form of managerial accounting. See, you see, I'm talking what I'm teaching now is about cost accounting. Kan tadi saya guna perkataan costing, process costing. So cost accounting, it is anak dia bawah management accounting. So what do you do? What do you want to find out? Is to capture, dia kata, to capture a company's total cost of production. Okay, what do you want to calculate? You want to calculate the cost of production. So what are we doing now in process costing? We want to calculate the cost. How much is the cost? Kenapa kita kena calculate the cost? Remember my first question, what's the purpose of you doing business? Purpose doing business mestilah nak profit. You want to have your profit. Question kedua, how do you calculate profit tadi? Revenue minus your cost. So you need to determine your cost. Really need to determine your cost. So you talk about the cost accounting is about finding the cost. So that is about finding the cost. And how does it differ from managerial accounting? So if you look at managerial accounting or management accounting, sama Ada setengah buku guna perkataan managerial accounting. Sorry, ada setengah buku dia guna perkataan management accounting. You refer je mana-mana, dia akan give you the same answer. So, dia kata kat sini, managerial accounting also called management accounting. Maksudnya sama. So, what is it about? Method of accounting that create statement, report, documents. What do? You help the management. You help the management untuk buat apa? To make decision. So, as I said, you provide the information so that the management are able to make decision. So now you want to calculate the cost, tadi cost accounting, you want to calculate the cost of, let's say, produce the botol air and so on. You want to calculate the cost. But finally, when you find that, oh, we are making so many losses, so a lot of losses, what happened? So you provide the information to the management so that finally management can make that decision yang akan relate to their business performance. Hopefully that gives you better idea on what management accounting is all about and cost accounting is all about. So I repeat, cost accounting is about providing information so that you know the cost. Okay? So just follow kalau saya kata tadi mana tadi? Alright. Let's see. I need a okay, let's say question 1. Question 1. What is the purpose of you doing business? Answer, to get profit. Question yang kedua, how to calculate profit? Answer, revenue minus cost provided positive, you will get profit. Okay. Question yang ketiga, what ni apa dia? Okay, what includes ataupun how to calculate cost means what includes in the cost. So you kena tahu what includes in the cost. That means bila saya nak kena kira cost, kalau saya sell at 10, macam mana saya nak tahu saya dapat profit or loss? I need to determine the cost. So that is the function of cost accounting. Provide the information so that you are able to determine the cost. Now, my question is, what includes in the cost? Dalam bahasa yang mudah, macam mana saya nak kira cost? Jadi, macam mana nak kira cost ni? When you want to calculate the cost, then that brings you to apa yang ada, apa yang terkandung di dalam cost itu. Jadi, you need to know what is called as the answer. That will be the elements of cost. So, you need to know the elements of cost. So, that brings you to the elements of cost. Sama saya nak menuju ke arah proses costing tadi. So, when you talk about the elements of cost, okay, what includes in the elements of cost? Saya cuma ambil apa-apa je. Okay, these are the elements of cost. So you will have number 1 adalah material, number 2 adalah labor, number 3 adalah expenses. So regardless whether you are doing job costing, process costing, batch costing, contract costing, semuanya you will come across the word material, labor, expenses. Sebab you nak kira cost, when you want to calculate the cost, you need to know what includes in that cost. What includes, apa yang terkandung di dalam cost, term dia adalah elements of cost. So that elements of cost, apa dia? Material, that will be your labor, that will be your expenses. And then out of that, okay, out of that, you will have direct material, indirect material, direct labor, indirect labor, direct expenses, indirect expenses. All your direct cost is known as prime cost. All your indirect cost is known as, siapa pandai?
Conversion cost.
Overheads, overheads. So campur semua, you akan dapat total production cost. Kan? So that concept is very important. Kenapa that concept is very important? Mana saya punya buku? Because you are doing guna buku Holmgren kan? Mana tadi? Holmgren. Okay, saya dah buka tadi. Okay, this is your textbook. If you to look at, tadi elements of cost, 28. Hold on, saya cari. Deal management. 28. Because I'm using a different textbook, jadi tak biasa sangat. Tapi just nak show, sebab you guna buku apa pun, dia akan give you the same answer. regardless of Drury ke, Hongren ke, cost concept cost and because the purpose of I'm explaining you this is I want you to see the whole picture, because I've been teaching management accounting for more than 20 years. 20 tahun dah lebih mengajar. From the year 2000. I've been teaching management accounting from the year 2000. So that's why I want you to see all this, the relationship, so that because if you are not clear on this, then you will have problems. Because I've been teaching daripada pra-diploma to diploma to S1 until S3. I've been teaching on the management accounting. So I can see the flow. So that's why I want to share with you. Mana pun tak jumpa. Manufacturing cost, tak jumpa pula. Inventory cost, period cost. So this one. So kalau you tengok dekat sini, when you talk about the cost pun, you akan ada kat sini cost of material. You see, dia akan ada material cost. And then are you talking about the direct cost or indirect? Then you see your labor. And then some of the word dia guna perkataan manufacturing or overhead cost. So this one you see overhead cost. Kan? All the direct material, direct labor, and then this one all your indirect cost. So you see sebenarnya macam mana buku tu susun pun is actually you are mentioning about the material, labor. Expenses is basically some setengah buku dia akan kata expenses tu macam royalty. Let's say we have a book. So that book, if I am in class, then I can show you, like you have this book, right? Okay, let's say this is the book. Nampak pun sebab ada background. So book, I'm holding a book. So that book, tapi tak nampak. Okay, tak apalah. The book, so cost, if you talk about the material, so the material will be the paper. The paper that you use for the book, so that will be the cost of the cost of that book tu is the material. Okay, the material will be the paper. Kalau indirect material, like when you want to glue the book and the papers together, you want to glue the book. So that glue, the cost of that glue is called indirect material. What about the labor? Labor, people that work in the factory, dia kerja dekat factory, dia produce the book, they involved in directly producing the book. The wages that you pay to those workers are direct labor. And then whereas ada dekat factory mestilah nak bersih, you ada tukang sapu, you ada nak ada security guard, the wages ataupun gaji that you pay kepada park guard, kepada the cleaner, all those indirect labor. They are labor but they don't directly involve in the production of the book. Okay, the author, dia mestilah nak duit sebab dia penat-penat tulis buku tu. Jadi the royalty that you pay to the authors tu adalah direct expenses. Kalau adalah, bukan semua akan ada direct expenses. So all the indirect expenses adalah overhead that you pay, like you are paying dekat kilang akan ada electricity, akan ada toilet, akan ada air, akan ada admin and so on. So all those are your indirect cost. So all indirect cost tu adalah yang overheads you lah. So when you want to calculate the cost, will include all these things, material, labor and all your manufacturing costs. So this one. So the same goes bila you nak kira the process costing tadi. When you do the account, you akan ada material, akan ada labor, akan ada all your overheads. Sometimes ada expenses, direct expenses, sometimes jarang ada. So that will be overheads, the remaining. So those will be the cost yang akan include yang this one lah, your elements of cost tadi. Mesti ada this one. So once you understand that concept, okay, kena understand what includes in the cost that brings you to the elements of cost. You need to understand the elements of cost. So when you do process costing, in that process costing or process account will have all these elements of cost. Nak debit ke nak credit and so on. Okay, so finish with that. Kalau tak faham, ada lagi soalan? Anything that you want to ask? Also, bila masa dah habis, tolong alert saya. Takut tak perasan pula. Mana tadi? The notes. Okay, so this one, hopefully you have because I just introduced to you the terms sahaja. The terms sahaja, terms maksudnya kena tahu apa dia maksud normal loss, apa dia maksud abnormal loss, apa maksudnya abnormal gain. Alright, now I move on kepada doing the accounts. doing the accounts, selalunya kalau my lecture, saya pecahkan normal loss ni kepada 4. Okay, the first one, saya akan ajar macam mana nak buat account guna simple process sahaja. Then I add on. Saya add on yang senang sikit will be closing work in progress. Saya add on lagi opening work in progress yang you ada FIFO dengan weighted average. Then baru saya introduce the joint product and byproduct. Tapi maybe over there the approach will be slightly different. Okay, so kalau you were to look at simple process, when I say simple process, what do I mean by simple process? Nanti kalau you want to listen to all my lecture here, semua lecture ni saya dah upload dekat YouTube with the notes tau. The notes that I've given you ni later lah. If let's say the detail on the process costing, katakan you go to YouTube, type je, katakan, type je Raja Azrin. Okay, Raja Azrin, katakan you want to talk about process costing. Saya ada process costing. Okay, dekat sini I have all my lecture daripada process costing part 1 ni. Sekejap. So daripada my process costing part 1, if you want to, sekejap. Iklan pula. Okay. Okay, this one I explain all the one that I'm explaining to you. For example, I have all this in process costing from part 1. Okay, you can, let's say lah, if you want to know more about it, then you can move on. Okay, I have all the process costing until part 28. So I put it into pieces daripada what about, let's say you about 10 minutes each video or less. So for example, you want to know about opening work in progress, about the FIFO methods, about the types of losses. Okay, macam mana, what about process costing ni semua kan. Yang this one yang saya explain kata macam mana how to go about ni semua saya dah upload dekat YouTube if you want to have a better understanding on process costing. Semua saya dah ada. Okay. I'm just the notes pun saya dah share with you. So I'm explaining the notes tadi guna this one. Okay, so now I move on to simple process. How to do the accounts for simple process. So simple process, what do I mean by simple process? Means there is no losses, no gain, and there is no work in progress. So first, before you can do the complex account of FIFO and weighted average, you first need to understand how to do a simple process account. Okay, I give you an example here. A raw material named hoodie undergoes 3 processes in order to be converted into the product known as homie. So now you have been given the information. So you have 3 processes, process 1, process 2 and process 3. Okay, like I said, the 3 just now, pokok tadi, daripada cutting into assembly into finishing. So macam you nak buat table, so that 3 processes. So they undergo this process 1 and then process 2 and then process 3. So for each, then you will have that I explained to you, the elements of cost. So dalam calculating the cost, nak kira sekarang ni kita nak kira berapa cost. Let's say katakanlah production of a table. So you want to know how much is the cost of producing that one table. So to know the cost of producing that one table, then you need to include all your elements of cost. So elements of cost tadi ada material, ada labor, ada expenses, and then ada overhead. Okay, the idea before you do a process account. So let's say I'm doing process 1 account. So to do a process 1 account, you ada debit, you ada credit. So whatever, the idea is whatever that you put in, letak belah debit. Apa yang you nak get out, you letak belah credit. Okay, so kita put in, our input will be, let's say direct material. Okay, so you will have columns. I believe that yang ini dah buat ke? Dah pernah belajar ke?
Yes, we have, ma'am.
Yes. So yang ini saya tak payah ajar. Sudah tahu kan? Sudah the quantity, the CPU, cost per unit and the value. Okay. So this one, let's say you put in direct material. Yang ni sudah faham macam mana nak kira untuk actual output, semua sudah? Perlu tunjuk atau
Kalau
boleh
diulang lagi tak apa.
ulang tak apa ya. Okey. Jadi kat sini let's say saya terangkan untuk proses 1 macam mana nak buat the account untuk proses 1. So you put in direct material. So direct material debit lah because you put in So you put in quantity berapa? Saya put in quantity 500 kilogram. So 500 kilogram. Okay, how much is the cost per unit? 1 kilo, sorry, because my value is in RM. Maybe you can convert into dollar ataupun Indonesian rupiah, but I'm sorry for that. Then 500, let's say kat sini dia kata 4. In Malaysia, panggil RM4 lah. So RM4 Malaysia. So times 5 times 2 is 20. That means it will be 2,000 ringgit in value. So this one will be times and this one equal. Okay, direct material. So you've got that one. Okay, and then move on to your direct labor. So direct labor straight away they'll give you in the value. So direct labor, put in the value, and then you have what else? You have the direct expenses as your cost. Put in another 1,000 as your direct expenses. And then overhead. Overhead is your cost also absorb 100% of direct labor cost. So if your direct labor cost 3,000 times 100%, so your overhead would be another 3,000. Okay. And then your transfer to process 2 means after process 1 it goes to process 2. Transfer, it is out. So out means that's why dia akan jadi credit. So dia credit kat sini will be transfer to process 2. To process 2 the quantity will be 500. So if you put in 500, you get in 500. Is there any losses? Tak ada lah. No losses. So in process 1 there is no losses at all. And then how to calculate the cost per unit? I'm just doing process 1. I'm just doing process 1. This one, process 1 dulu. Okay, I'm doing process 1. So your actual output is 500 kilogram. So how to calculate the cost? So to calculate you want to calculate the cost per unit. To calculate the cost per unit, that will be total cost divided by total input tadi, or quantity tadi kan? That is the formula. Saya belum introduce normal loss lagi. So that would be, ni tadi formula yang atas yang saya bagi tadi, mana dia? This one, mana? This one. To calculate the cost per unit, so cost per unit will be your input cost tadi. Okay, now output dia. Dia tak ada losses. Total cost input bahagi dengan total output. That means if you were to calculate, that would be total yang you campur dekat sini bahagi dengan quantity 500. Okay. You will get berapa? Sekejap. Mana jawapan saya? Kejap Okay, so this one. Untuk that one, the answer tadi 2,000, 3,000, 1,000, 3,000. Okay, so you will get output you 5,000. 500. So how to calculate your CPU? That will be 9,000. Campur ni semua dapat 9,000. So that will be 9,000. Kalau minus normal loss, kita tak ada normal loss lagi. In this particular account, normal loss dia 0. So you minus 0 lah. Divided by 500, minus 0 juga. So you will get 18 per kilogram. So that 18 goes here. So 500 times 18, you will get 9,000. So your account will be balanced. So you akan debit, saya repeat, you akan debit dengan all the input that you put in, and then you akan buat 3 column for your process 1 account. So you ada quantity, cost per unit and amount. The same goes untuk quantity, cost per unit and amount. Untuk the credit side, this one is your debit, this one is your credit. So you have output of 9,000. So your account should be balanced in terms of the quantity and value untuk debit and credit. Okay, itu proses 1. Ada soalan tak? Siapa yang kata laju, tak boleh ikut, tak faham? Anyone?
Mau bertanya?
Ya, sila.
Sila. Ya, silakan, Mbak.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, ma'am. My name is Harbina, and I want to ask about this process costing What's the difference between the average method and the FIFO method?
Alright, okay. For average method and FIFO method, first, okay, Herwina, you need to understand how to do the simple process account first. Sebab tadi saya tak tahu to what extent your knowledge in terms of doing the process account. Okay, sebab saya pun masuk di tengah-tengah kan. Mungkin your dosen sudah ajar sebelum ni on the process account. Okay, basically, as I said, kalau saya ajar, saya akan ajar 4 steps. Saya akan ajar dulu. Okay, first, tadi saya kata simple process. Yang saya terangkan ini adalah simple process dan saya akan terangkan kedua mengenai closing dulu WIP. Then saya akan terangkan opening WIP. Dekat opening WIP ni ada FIFO and weighted average method. Jadi kalau simple process ni tak faham, jadi susah untuk saya terangkan yang opening and closing WIP. Kena faham dulu simple process tu apa. Apa maksud saya simple process? You need to really understand how to do the accounts untuk proses yang tak ada work in progress. Work in progress maksudnya you buat tapi belum siap. Untuk let's say bulan apa? Sekarang ni bulan Oktober. You buat that process. You nak buat apa? Tak kisah tadi saya kata nak buat shampoo, nak buat table, okay, nak buat ice cream. Tak kisah whatever product that you want to produce, provided they undergo a sequential processes. So at every month you akan buat account. Let's say you akan buat account from 1 Oktober sehingga 31 ke bulan 31 Oktober. Okay, you do your account based on the accounting period. Okay, you buat untuk 1 bulan contohnya. Tapi pada 31 hari bulan 10, ada lagi yang tak siap. Baru siap sampai proses 2. Belum habis sampai proses 3 contoh dia. So, bila dia ada lagi item yang tak betul-betul siap, kita panggil dia sebagai work in process. Ada setengah buku guna perkataan work in process. Ada setengah buku guna perkataan work in progress. Mana-mana pun boleh. So, you have that WIP. So, that WIP, bila nak buat at this period, let's say bulan 10, pada period ini dia jadi apa? That item yang tak siap. Ada meja you buat tapi meja tu tak cukup lagi kaki dia. Baru ada 2 kaki saja contoh dia. Dia in progress lah, sedang buat. So bila dia tak siap, tiba-tiba you nak close account pada 31 hari bulan 10. So bila tak siap pada 31 hari bulan 10, dia jadi apa? Dia jadi work in progress. Bila dia jadi work in progress, adakah dia opening ataupun closing work in progress? Pada 31 hari bulan 10.
Ending.
Dia akan jadi ending. Ada setengah buku guna perkataan closing, ada setengah buku guna perkataan ending. Sama end, hujung lah, close. You tutup lah at the end. Okay, you akan jadi ending work in progress ataupun closing work in progress. Tapi pada 1 hari bulan 11, you akan sambung lagi. Takkan biar meja ni 2 kaki aja, mesti akan tambah lagi 2 kat sini. Jadi bila you nak sambung kerja itu, pada 1 hari bulan 11, dia akan jadi opening work in progress ataupun beginning. Ada setengah buku guna perkataan opening, ada setengah buku guna perkataan beginning work in progress. So bila you nak kira opening ataupun beginning work in progress, dia ada macam mana nak account for that in your account lah. When you prepare the process account tadi, kan kita buat process account, kita akan ada opening WIP. Okay, opening WIP sebab closing WIP dekat sini. Dia akan jadi carried down here, dia akan jadi brought down here. So when you have that opening WIP, remember one thing yang student selalu buat silap, kita tak siap lagi. Let's say you ada process 1, you ada process 2, you ada process 3. Ingat lagi cerita table yang saya kata tadi? Okay, let's say yang tak siap sekarang ni dekat process 2. Bila tak siap dekat proses tu, let's say saya kata ini adalah cutting, ini adalah assembly, ini adalah finishing saya kata tadi. Okay. Bila you have that, yang tak siap dekat proses 2, you ada closing work in progress here. Bila you ada closing work in progress in process 2, dia takkan, salah dia takkan jadi opening work in progress untuk proses 3. Salah konsep tu. Dia akan jadi opening WIP untuk proses yang sama, untuk proses 2 cuma for the next period. Maksud saya period, katakan ini bulan 10, dia akan jadi opening pada bulan 11. Dah siap pasang kaki dia, baru hantar dekat proses 3 untuk chart, finishing and so on. So the closing of one period will become the opening of the next period for the same process. Maknanya proses 2 juga, bukan proses 3. So that is the concept that you need to understand. And then when you want to account for your opening work in progress, dia ada 2 method. Satu namanya FIFO, satu namanya weighted average. So that FIFO and weighted average tu adalah 2 methods untuk when you want to determine, kalau dalam ni chapter 17 of your textbook, saya pun dah baca tadi tengok. On the chapter 17, ada 5 steps kan dalam your textbook. Mana tadi chapter 17? Ni chapter berapa? Chapter tak ingat pula page berapa tadi. Chapter 17. Process account. Sekejap 13. Oh, 13. Saya tak ambil page number pula tadi. Page number 13. Mana tadi nak tunjuk pun tak nampak. Dia ada first untuk work in progress. Ni saya tak jumpa pula, dia buku surat dia banyak. Basically tadi saya dah baca on your textbook. Saya tanya you punya dosen dia punya textbook, tapi saya dah baca on page on your chapter 17 on the process account. Same thing, you akan tengok on the difference between FIFO and weighted average bila untuk beginning je ni. Ni first in first out method of process costing bila spoilage in the form. Okay, ini bila you ada normal loss lah maksudnya kan. When you have normal loss. So that's why saya kata ini weighted average method bila you ada normal loss, spoilage. Okay, dia ada 5 step. Okay, 5 step procedures for process costing. Macam mana nak buat. Yang ni I'm not sure you can understand or not, tapi kalau saya dah simplifykan tadi normal. So yang ini adalah normal, dia guna perkataan spoilage. Samalah normal loss tu dia panggil normal spoilage. And then dia ada abnormal spoilage means abnormal loss yang saya kata tadi. Ada setengah-setengah buku guna term yang berbeza but they are actually referring to the same thing. So when you talk about normal spoilage is the spoilage inherent in a particular production process. Means inherent means telah diwarisi in that particular production. Memang ada. You can't avoid it. Kan? Walaupun you cuba, dia kata in efficient manner still. The cost of normal loss, normal spoilage are typically included as a component of the cost of goods sold units manufactured. Why? Because good units cannot be made without also making some defective units. So this one, yang ini yang saya kata tadi, you faham tak ayat ni? You faham tak what is meant by this sentence? Because I'm worried that you don't understand what is meant by dipanggil defective units, and that defective units, who's going to bear the cost of that normal loss? Itu soalan saya yang mudah lah. Siapa yang akan menanggung cost of normal loss ini? Itu dalam bahasa yang mudah. Tapi dekat sini dia kata the cost of normal spoilage typically included as a component of the cost of good units. Cost of good units. Apa maksud good units? Manufactured because good units cannot be made without also making some defective units. Okay. So that's why saya kata you need to understand. Sebab sometimes bila you baca your textbook ni macam saya tak tahulah your understanding. To me macam pada student kepada mahasiswa apa yang cuba disampaikan masih tak boleh nak digest. Tapi saya tak tahu. Maybe I'm wrong, but if you can understand that's good. But that's why I summarize that one as this one. Tadi kan yang saya tanya, apa maksud ayat tu? Inilah maksud dia. Why do we need to deduct normal loss bila calculate the CPU? So jawapan dia tadi yang good units. You perasan dalam textbook you tadi ada guna perkataan good units kan? Apa maksud good units tu? Tapi kalau saya nak jawab soalan Herwina tadi, Herwina tanya about the FIFO and LIFO, tapi FIFO and weighted average. For me to answer that, sebenarnya dalam nota saya ni ada, tapi dia macam panjang lah sedikit cerita dia. Saya akan terangkan dulu work in progress dulu. You have to understand dulu apa maksud work in progress. Once you dah understand apa maksud work in progress, baru saya ajar yang the closing dulu. Kan saya kata nombor 3 saya ajar closing dulu ataupun ending dulu. Sebab ending ni senang. Ending tak ada method banyak-banyak, dia ada satu method saja. Once you dah understand closing, baru saya ajar the beginning. Baru saya ajar the beginning, mana tadi? Opening ataupun beginning. So baru saya ajar yang this one. You dah faham ini, baru saya boleh ajar ini. baru you boleh digest apa maksud opening, work in progress tu kan saya kata ada weighted average dan juga ada FIFO methods. Then saya akan terangkan on the using macam mana to do the accounts, guna both methods. We're using the same question. I'm using the same question. This one is the same question. And we are using the same question untuk tengok kalau kita guna average method macam mana jawapan dia. Kalau kita guna FIFO method apa jawapan dia, so that you can see the difference dengan soalan yang sama ataupun same scenario. Kalau you guna FIFO apa jadi pada dia punya profit and so on. Kalau you guna weighted average apa jadi. So the same question but we are using different methods. Tapi dia panjang lah untuk I explain, not enough for like let's say half an hour ni tak cukup lah untuk saya je atau 15 minutes untuk explain to you. But before we can explain that's why saya kata tadi dia sebenarnya sama je dengan your textbook, cuma this one saya dah summarize it in a simpler version kan. Sebab first very important, that's why I normally emphasize bila saya ajar, emphasize the concept tu dulu you have to understand. Once you understand the basic concept, macam saya kata, what's the purpose of you doing business? Nak kira profit. Bila you want to calculate the profit, apa elements of cost yang ada dalam profit. So regardless you guna method apa pun, job costing ke, process costing ke, still akan ada elemen material, labor, expenses, overhead ni tadi. So you understand, untuk kira cost, you kena include semua ni dalam as part of your cost. Once you dah understand sekarang ni, kenapa nak guna process costing? Why do you use process costing? Oh, because my product adalah homogeneous. Homogeneous tu maksud dia apa? Please alert me kalau masa dah habis ya? Ke belum? Please alert me, takut saya lupa. Tadi saya nak pergi muka surat 17 on the chapter 17. Tak tengok pula page number. 17, 15. Okay, kalau you tengok jap. Mungkin to you, some of you macam first time belajar dengan saya, dia nampak macam jumping from one to another kan. Takut some of you tak boleh nak follow my teaching. That's what I'm afraid lah. Tapi I provide you with the notes tadi kan, yang you scan QR tadi, the notes. Kalau tak faham ataupun you want to know more, boleh ask your dosen, ataupun boleh juga kalau nak have a different view, boleh juga tengok saya punya explanation dekat YouTube. Tak adalah pandai sangat buat YouTube, just sharing so that my students can have references. Tadi kan kalau you tengok saya kata soalan saya mana 691. That's why kalau you tengok dekat sini pun bila dia terangkan, nampak tak dia terangkan case by case. Process costing with zero beginning and some ending. So maksudnya sekarang ni beginning ada tak? Tak ada. Dia terangkan dengan ending dulu. That's why sebab saya kata zero beginning ni, maknanya beginning ni dia macam susah sikit sebab beginning ni bukanlah susah, dia macam kena terangkan on the FIFO, kena terangkan on the weighted average. So that's why dia terangkan dulu dengan yang ada ending saja. Tu yang kedua kan. Yang the first one, kalau you tengok case one tadi, untuk terangkan proses same goes with your process costing kan. So kalau process costing tadi you kata ni saya dah baca. Okay, this one. So that's why kalau tadi kan saya terangkan job costing dengan process costing. So you understand tadi job macam mana? Job tadi saya katakan dia bagi contoh custom made machine lah, houses lah, macam saya bagi contoh tadi repair car, saya bagi contoh tadi bila you nak buat kitchen cabinet. So yang this one mass identical, produk you semua identical, macam saya kata ice cream, Maggi mee, shampoo kan, semua ni undergo the same process, then only you guna process costing. This one kan. So bila nak guna process costing, what do you need to know? You kena kira cost per unit. That is meant by unit cost. Produk ke, service ke, saya kata tak kisah. You need to know what is the unit cost. So macam mana nak kira cost tadi? Kena tahu elements of cost. So that's why kita kira cost per unit CPU yang saya kata tadi kan. That is actually your unit cost. So you kena tahu the main difference between your process costing dengan job costing. So tadi macam mana nak kira? Semua nak kira on the product cost. Finally you want to determine the cost. Tu yang saya terangkan on the cost accounting. Cost accounting tadi finally you want to determine the cost. Tapi bila nak guna? Bila your product ni identical, similar. Kan your product tadi sama je, ice cream cornetto, packaging sama, rasa sama kalau vanilla. Okay, so dia are identical. Then you kena guna apa? Kena guna process costing. Nak kira process costing macam mana? You kena cari average production cost. Apa maksud average? Kalau total cost saya adalah 100, let's say ataupun dollar ke tak kisahlah, total cost adalah 100. Saya produce 10 unit. Ni total cost, ini adalah quantity yang saya produce adalah 10. Macam mana nak kira dia punya average production cost? Bahagilah kan. So that will be 100 divided by 10. So you dapat 10 lah. $10 lah. Kan? You ambil the value divided by the quantity. Then you dapat the average production cost. So itu yang saya ajar tadi. Cost per unit. Kan yang saya kata nak kira CPU. Cost per unit. Ambil total cost bahagi dengan total input tadi berapa unit. Ini will be in value. Ini will be in units. Tapi there are adjustments. Kena tolak pula normal loss. Kalau masa mengizinkan, masa panjang, saya akan terangkan kenapa kena tolak normal loss. It's not only you memorizing the formula, but you have to understand kenapa saya kena tolak normal loss ni. Boleh tak saya ambil total cost tadi 100 bahagi dengan 10 saja? Kenapa kalau ada normal loss 5, saya kena tolak pula normal loss ni? If masa mengizinkan dan saya terangkan. Masa tak mengizinkan, so next time lah. Itulah soalan saya. Kenapa tadi? So when you study, when you understand what you are doing, then dia jadi seronok lah. Kan? You understand, kenapa kita kena tolak normal loss? Apa maksud dia when you have to deduct the normal loss? So jawapan dia pun ada kat sini tadi. Soalan saya, why do we need to deduct normal loss when calculating the cost per unit? So jawapan tadi dalam textbook tadi ada, tapi mungkin you tak faham sangatlah about the good units kan. Dia kata who's going to bear the cost of that normal loss? So jawapan dia the good units. Apa maksud good units? Dan kenapa good units pula yang kena tanggung the cost? Macam tu. Customer ke yang kena bayar later on the cost? So that are the questions that you need to understand lah. So when kita about this one kan, so you kena understand the average production cost. Kemudian dia bagi contoh lah, dia bagi contoh kat sini. Cost tadi sampai ikut department tadi ataupun saya kata process 1, process 2 and so on kan. Kemudian you tengok pula dia terangkan by cases. Dia terangkan by cases tu sebab dia nak kata kalau case 1 ni process costing with zero beginning, zero ending. Dalam bahasa yang mudahnya saya punya adalah simple process. Bila simple process tadi maksudnya tak ada opening close ataupun beginning inventory dan tak ada. Zero means tak ada lah. Tak ada ending work in progress. So kita tengok dulu, faham dulu macam mana nak buat account kalau simple process. Once you dah understand simple process macam mana, baru we add on. Okay, kita tengok case yang kedua. Now process costing tapi zero beginning. Bila zero beginning maknanya tak ada beginning lah. Tapi ada ending. So saya add on, saya buat yang tambah sikit lagi simple process tadi tapi tambah dengan ending work in progress. Yang case yang ketiga process costing with both some beginning, some ending. Baru saya campur semua. So saya kata tadi simple process ada, beginning ending ada, campur beginning. Macam tu. How I approach lah untuk ajar proses costing. Saya follow your textbook ni. Okay, macam mana nak ajar. So once you faham dulu, mesti faham dulu about the process costing with no beginning ataupun no ending. So this one kita panggil sebagai simple process. So once you dah understand macam mana nak buat simple process account, yang ni tadi saya tengah ajar simple process tadi. Saya tengah ajar simple process. Once you can, you understand mana tadi tah? Once you understand macam mana nak buat yang ni. Yang ni kan, yang ni saya katakan simple process. Bila saya kata simple process, maksud saya simple process adalah without any, yang first one tadi tak ada losses atau gain ataupun no work in progress. Sama macam your textbook. Cuma saya punya example ni lebih user friendly lah to you kan. So this one, and then saya terus ajar macam mana nak buat account. So once you dah tahu macam mana nak buat account, you tahulah debit apa, credit apa kan. So this one. So kalau you tengok sambung cerita daripada proses 1, you pergi kepada proses 2. Dekat proses 2 tadi, kalau you have to understand output of one process, will become input of the next process. Contoh you kata, ibu dalam proses 2 tidak dimaklumkan berapa input. Tapi you tahu dia bagi tahu output dekat proses 1. So okay, I repeat, let's say dalam soalan exam tidak dimaklumkan maklumat ini. Sekiranya tidak dimaklumkan maklumat ini, boleh tak tahu? Boleh. Sebab apa? Sebab output of one process will become the input of the next process. Okay, dia mesti berturut. Output proses 1 500, jadi input proses 2 mesti 500. Okay, the same goes output dekat sini 850, input dekat sini mesti 850. Okay, dia continue the process sampai siap proses 3. Okay, so this one sambung cerita dia buat untuk account proses 2 pula. So when you do untuk proses 2, so in proses 2 you buat from process 1, that will be your input. Kemudian ada additional material. Sometimes in the question there is no additional material, sometimes ada. Kalau ada tambah, kalau tak ada tak payah tambah. Okey, contohnya apa dia put in material dalam proses 1. Kalau dia buat baju, katakan untuk badan dia saja. Untuk proses 2 dia tambah lagi material untuk tambah kain untuk tangan dia. So ada additional material. Macam itulah maksud dia. So you akan ada lagi additional material, and then you ada direct labor, your cost, direct expenses dengan you punya overhead. Kemudian the thing is dalam soalan ni dia bagi actual output. Okay, you tengok kat sini. You put in berapa? You put in 500, kemudian tambah lagi 500, so total 1000. So you put in 1000. Tapi output that you get, actual output you 850. Remember question yang saya kata tadi? Put in 1000, keluar 850. So difference ada berapa? 150.
150.
Alright, 150 ni, okay, losses. But expected loss 10% of input. So 10% expected loss. Ingat expected loss tadi adalah normal loss kan? You expect that losses to occur. So kalau saya put in 1000, 10% berapa?
100.
100, correct? So you put in 1000, you expect 100 to be your losses. So output you 900. Tapi your actual output berapa? 850 je. 850 je. So apa lagi? So you kata 100 adalah normal loss. Apa lagi? The difference lagi berapa?
50.
Sudah azan 50. So that 50 namanya apa?
Abnormal loss.
Pandai. Abnormal loss. Kita berhenti azan Okay. So that is abnormal loss. So you first must be able to determine the quantity dulu. Okay, quantity mesti betul. You salah quantity, account you semua salah. So that's why dalam working saya akan tentukan quantity dulu untuk setiap proses you determine the quantity dulu. Saya dah buat template untuk you determine the quantity. So ini yang itu template dia, yang ini adalah jawapan dia. So tadi you kata tadi kan you put in, okay? So you put in tadi ada 50 abnormal loss, 100 adalah normal loss, pandai. Okay, untuk proses 2. Okay, so daripada sini, then you do the accounts. Bila nak buat accounts untuk proses 2. So you put in, ni saya terus bagi jawapan lah, masa dah nak habis. Kalau saya in class, saya suruh student buat sama-sama so that I can check your answer whether you got it correct or not. Tapi because of the time constraint today, saya tak sempat lah nak tunggu you buat. Tapi you can try. Okay, so you put in lah from process 1 tadi. So kat sini, daripada process 1 daripada process 1, this one is your output. Okay, saya highlight ni output ni. Okay, this one dia daripada process 1 account. Double entry pergi ke sini. Credit satu account, debit another account So this one, that's why you dapat kat sini, you dapat balik ni. From process 1 tadi, 518, 9,000. Okay, and then baru you put in daripada soalan kan. From the question, I give you additional material ni semua kan, yang the debit one, process 2 we are doing process 2. Okay, so this one, we are doing process 2. So, you ada 3,000 untuk additional material, dia bagi 500 kali dengan 6. So, dapat 3. 3,000. And then another direct labor, another 3,000. Direct expenses 910. Semua ni masuk belah debit lah of your process account. Dia bagi overhead 100% of labor cost 3,000, another 3,000. So that's why you masuk semula dekat sini. Mana tadi? This one semua ni masukkan. Okay, masukkan sampai overhead. Kemudian output tadi kita dah kata 850. Mana saya dapat daripada soalan tadi. Then you already work out your normal loss. Ni dah lari sikit Dia punya ni ke bawah sikit ni normal loss. Dah salah sikit dia punya level tadi ni terbalik. Dia tak ni get down lah, saya tersilap ni sikit. Okay. So dia punya output adalah 850 dan ini apa tadi? Letakkan normal loss dia punya level tak sama. Normal loss 100, mana saya dapat ni given in the question. So ini darab ini akan dapat inilah. Okay, darab kali. And then your abnormal loss tadi you dah work out 50. Okay, once you dah, dia sebenarnya saya nak cakap kat sini, time dah nak habis. Okay, saya nak bagi tahu kat sini, let's say, yang figure ni tak tahu tau. Ni yang saya birukan ni tak tahu lagi. Ni tak tahu lagi. Ni tak tahu lagi. Ini tak tahu lagi. Alright. Okay, bila kita buat account ni semua kita tahu. Yang ini semua tahu. Ni semua dah tahu macam mana nak dapat kan. Okay, ni semua tahu. Yang saya tick ni semua dah tahu. Okay, cuma yang biru yang saya highlight ni je kita tak tahu lagi value dia. So macam mana kita nak tahu value dia? So whenever you get an account tadi, nak buat ni value ni berapa, kalau once dah tahu ini, you kali je dapat ni kan, dapat jumlah ni darab ini, quantity darab CPU dapatlah amount. Cuma yang ini tak tahu. So yang ini, yang biru ni, you kena work out. Macam mana nak work out is, you kira dia punya CPU. CPU macam mana nak kira, that will be total cost, campur ni semua, dapat 18910. Minus your normal loss. Kalau proses 1 tadi tak ada normal loss. In your process 2, now you have your normal loss. So normal loss tadi, normal loss adalah 100. Value dia 10 sen, tadi akan jadi 10. Okay, minus your total input ni 1,000. Okay, your 1,000 minus the quantity of your normal loss tadi 100. So you dapat 21. So that 21 akan letak dekat here. Akan letak kat sini 21. So once you dah tahu this 21, then darab je lah 850 times dengan 21, you dapatlah this value and your account should be balanced. Ni mesti sama. Debit and credit mesti sama. Okay, once you understand your normal loss tadi, then you need to understand bila you ada abnormal gain. Kalau normal loss adalah on the credit side, abnormal loss adalah on the credit side. So this one abnormal gain will be on the debit side of your account. Sama juga konsep dia. You masukkan work out dia punya cost per unit. Daripada you punya cost per unit masukkan dekat sini nanti and masukkan dekat sini juga nanti. Okay. Kenapa tak sempat nak cerita kenapa kena ambil all these things, and then I will teach you on how to do the normal loss account, abnormal gain account, abnormal loss account. Okay, so this one macam mana nak buat the accounts. So once you understand macam mana nak buat simple process, then baru saya move on kepada the closing WIP. Once you dah understand closing WIP, baru saya go into opening WIP yang you ada FIFO dengan weighted average tadi. So that should be the steps lah. Sama macam your textbook yang saya kata ada case 1, you faham dulu your case 1, baru you move on kepada case 2, baru you boleh move on kepada you punya case 3. Otherwise, kalau you terus jump kepada case 3, nanti you lost. Dah tak nampak dah dekat mana. Simple process pun macam tak berapa nak faham, then you will have problems. Bila you tak ikut the steps here. Selalunya macam itulah yang saya nampak bila you, that's why when you do process costing, you need to really understand the steps add-on ni. Then baru you have better understanding whenever you have any questions, then you are able to do any questions. Otherwise, 11:30, 12:30. Okay, I have another 10 minutes. Okay, so that means these are the things that you really need to understand before saya boleh turn into that yang opening WIP tadilah sebenarnya. Then baru you faham ni, baru you boleh buat join product and buy product. But I'm not sure your syllabus sampai tak join product and buy product ni. Kalau dekat UiTM, kita ajar sampai join product and buy product. Okay, so I have another 10 minutes. So I just want to recap lah, to summarize, simplify, to digulungkan apa yang saya telah ajar pada hari ini. Alright, ada soalan? Kalau ada, just stop me and ask. Ya, ada?
Tak ada.
Tak ada. Okey, baik. Macam ni. Okey, untuk proses costing, dia adalah, saya recap balik whatever that I have teach you. So untuk proses costing is basically you need to understand what process costing is all about. So proses costing ni saya kata tadi, whenever you have products ataupun services yang undergo a series ataupun a continuation of processes, dia undergo repetitive, continuous, dia berturut-turut, dia continuous operation process. Kalau you kata tengok production dekat sini ke, kan, you boleh tengok YouTube juga, production process of ice cream and so on. Dia akan undergo that processes. Kemudian in terms of the product tu dipanggil sebagai identical. Setengah buku dia guna perkataan similar, setengah buku dia guna perkataan homogeneous. Maksud dia sama lah. Dia sama je. Produk you sama, packaging sama, weight sama, berat sama. Kan? Whereby bila diletakkan dua produk tu bersebelahan, you are unable to distinguish one from the other. Sama ni beli dekat mana? Surabaya ke Jakarta? Tak tahu, sama aja. Macam tu. So, example of industries, dia kata chemical processing, you buat roti ke, you buat oil refining ke, you buat food production ke, you buat shampoo ke, you buat sabun basuh kain ke, kan? All these things dia akan finally mesti nak tahu dia punya cost. So bila nak tahu dia punya cost, when your product undergo a series of processes and the output ataupun your product are identical, similar, homogeneous, in that case you should use process costing. So bila process costing, nak kira cost dia macam mana? You kena kira cost dia, total process cost of each process, you akan share equally. Semua orang akan take the same portion. Let's say kalau you kata ada ice cream tadi, kan? Sorry lah, tak pandai lukis. Okay, you ada ice cream A. Okay, you ada ice cream A, ice cream B, ice cream C. Kalau ini dia punya CPU adalah 10, ini pun CPU adalah 10, ini pun cost per unit adalah 10. Tu maksud dia semua orang share the same amount of cost. Sebab tu you kira dia sebagai average. Kalau you baca buku pun dia kata dia average the cost over the unit produced. So that's why dia kata equal. Okay, next you kena tahu macam mana nak kira dia punya cost per unit. You ambil dia punya total cost, dia bahagi dengan total quantity. Kalau saya bagi contoh tadi, the total value adalah let's say 100 divided by 10 units. So you dapat the $10 per unit. So bila you dapat $10 per unit, however, whenever you have losses, okay, you kena tolak the normal loss. Dalam formula dia will be total cost minus the normal loss. Bahagi dengan input quantity minus the normal loss. Yang atas in terms of value, yang bawah in terms of quantity, kan? Value, ni value bahagi dengan quantity. Then you dapat dia punya cost per unit. Kemudian dia kata separate accounts are kept for each process. Maksud dia kalau ada 3 proses ni, you akan buka account cutting, you akan buka account assembly, you akan buka account finishing. Kira dia punya CPU here, kira dia punya cost per unit here, kira dia punya cost per unit here. Itu maksud dia separate accounts are kept for each process. And then dia kata output of one process becomes the raw material or input of the next process. Output dari cutting pergi sini, dia akan jadi ni output dia. Kat sini akan jadi input sini. Kemudian kat sini keluarkan output sini akan jadi input sini. Kat sini baru keluar jadi finished goods. Okay. So itu konsep yang you have to understand untuk the process costing. Then you akan boleh differentiate lah. Once you understand, you tengok apa differences between process costing dengan job costing tadi. Kemudian you need to know about the losses, types of losses. It can be scrap, spoil, defective units, these losses. And then that losses, you kena tahu tadi saya kata ada 3. What are the 3? The normal loss, abnormal gain. Okay, kena tahu semua dalam account, jangan ada perkataan expected losses ke apalah, semua hanya ada 3 perkataan ni saja in your account. In your account, normal loss, abnormal gain. Tapi the concept wise, apa dia normal loss? Dia adalah you expect, you macam beranggapan itu akan berlaku. So you expect that losses to occur. So boleh tak you nak avoid? Tak boleh avoid sebab dia memang akan occur in that operation under normal condition. Kemudian losses yang tadi dia kata inherent, yang sudah diwarisi in the processing operation. Kemudian mana you nak tahu based on past experience. Dia kata bulan ni sama juga, sama macam bulan lepas, sama dengan bulan sebelum ni, sama macam tahun sebelumnya. Jadi based on past experience, sama je. Bulan lepas berapa? Oh, katakan bulan lepas 10. Bulan sebelum tu berapa? Bulan sebelum tu 9. Tahun lepas berapa? Tahun lepas 12. Oh, kita ambil 10 lah average, macam tu. Dia inherent in the production process. So that is your normal loss. So macam mana nak treat that normal loss in your account? So dia kata losses arise to nature of the process, cost will be included as part of the cost of production. Maksudnya bila you kira the cost, you akan masukkan that cost of that normal loss as part of your cost of production. Dekat mana you masukkan? Mana dia calculation yang menunjukkan you masukkan that normal loss punya cost in that production cost. So itu yang saya kata tadi, kalau masa panjang saya terangkan, otherwise your docent will explain it to you. So the treatment dekat sini you kena tahu the double entry lah, the journal entry, nak debit apa, nak credit apa tadi. Kemudian the same goes untuk your the same goes for your abnormal loss pula. Once you understand your normal loss, you need to understand your abnormal loss. Once dah faham your abnormal loss, then you move on to your abnormal gain. So macam mana treatment dia semua kat sinilah your account, debit apa, credit apa. Ni tadi saya dah terangkan on the scenario untuk understand dulu. First you kena understand dulu apa dia normal loss, abnormal gain. Kedua, once you have understood, you need to be able to identify in terms of the calculation, nak kira berapa banyak normal loss tadi, berapa banyak abnormal loss, berapa banyak abnormal gain in terms of quantity tadi. Kena determine, be able to determine the quantity. Once you understand that, then baru kita move on kepada buat the account. When you want to do the account, yang case 1, case 2, case 3 tadi dalam your textbook. So the first one you understand dulu case 1. Case 1 maknanya simple process. Apa maksud simple process? No work in progress. Itu maksud simple process. So bila dia simple process, you try and do process 1 account, process 2 account and process 3 account. Once you are able to do that process account yang simple process, ni jawapan dia pun saya dah bagi tadi. So jawapan dia, okay, ni first determine dulu quantity. Ni step 1 dia quantity dulu. Once you get the quantity correct, ni nak determine abnormal loss ke abnormal gain. Quantity mesti betul dulu. Kenapa? Kalau you punya quantity salah, semua account you nanti salah, dia tak balance. So mesti make sure quantity mesti betul. Once you dah dapat quantity ni betul, then only you do the process account. Macam mana nak buat process account? Cara nak buat process account, all the input letak belah debit, all your output letak belah credit. Okay? So output letak kat sini, kemudian nak buat apa? Kira dia punya CPU. CPU tu apa? Cost per unit ataupun dalam setengah buku dia unit cost. So unit cost maknanya cost per unit lah. Okay, unit cost dia. 1 unit berapa? Sebab kenapa? Maksudnya kita nak kira, ini you kira dia punya average. Average maknanya 1 unit berapa? Ambil total cost bahagi dengan the quantity. That is the CPU. Once you have calculated dia punya CPU, masukkan dalam kat sini. Kemudian output daripada proses ini akan pergi kepada input of your next process. Kemudian sama, masukkan all this one. So output dekat belah sini. Kalau ada normal loss belah sini, abnormal loss pun belah sini. Only kalau ada abnormal gain, then dia akan letak belah debit. Kemudian dekat sini, normal loss dia akan letak value as the value of normal loss. Contoh dalam soalan here, I have another 1 minute. Contoh soalan kat sini, expected loss dia jual dengan harga berapa? Dipanggil scrap value dia berapa. Okay? So that one, dia masukkan je lah dalam account you. Cuma sekarang ni apa yang you need to determine adalah you punya the CPU of your output and CPU of your abnormal loss. Apa yang saya nak highlight ialah, tapi masa dah habis, kalau you tengok output output CPU dia berapa? 21. Normal loss CPU dia berapa? Only 10 sen. Tapi abnormal loss kenapa 21? Maksudnya apa? Maksudnya abnormal loss akan carry the cost of good units. Good units, apa maksud good units? Good units maknanya barang yang elok yang you boleh jual. Barang yang elok yang you boleh jual, cost dia berapa? Cost dia 21. Barang yang tak elok yang you tak boleh jual, cost dia berapa? 10. Tapi yang abnormal loss pun 21. So dia adalah the explanation behind it, kenapa. The kenapa ataupun the why, the value tu dia panjang lah kenapa. Kan? The first one you have to understand dulu nak letak value apa je. Once you understand nak letak value apa je, then baru you faham, understand behind the scene, di sebalik tu kenapa. Kenapa kena 21, kenapa bukan 10 sen. Then itu cerita yang panjang lah untuk you understand the good units tadi, faham ayat yang saya terang tadi. So these are the things that you need to know. Kemudian kena belajar macam mana nak buat all this account lah, which I don't have enough time to explain to you on how to do this account. Once you understand ni semua, baru boleh buat saya kata work in progress. So kena understand dulu apa dia, dan baru kita terangkan apa dia maksudnya partly completed process ataupun nama lain dia work in progress. So once you understand tu baru boleh buat yang then closing, dan baru buat opening. So I think that's all for today's class. Saya dah terlebih 2 minit. So thank you very much. So I end my presentation. Thank you very much. I pass to the chairperson ke?
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Azrin, for your today lectures. This is a valuable experience for our students, especially about understanding different terms for the same thing, because in here we usually use ending work in process, but there you say closing, and also about the opening, and overhead, you call indirect cost. We use to say it's overhead, that's variable overhead and fixed overhead. Thank you very much. Because of limited time, so we have to finish our lecture only until here.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
We expect, we can continue at the next time with different topic. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Azrin. Until we meet again. Bye.
All right, okay.